My name is Teddy. 6 months ago I moved to Seattle after accepting a position at a tech startup, my dream job, but one that required uprooting my comfortable life in Chicago at 32. I wasn't exactly thrilled about starting over socially, but my career had always come first in Chicago. I had my routine work, occasional drinks with colleagues, weekend hikes when the weather permitted, and quiet evenings with books or Netflix. I wasn't particularly close to anyone, but he wasn't lonely either, or at least that's what I told myself. Seattle welcomed me with its characteristic rain and gray skies. My apartment, a modern one-bedroom in Capitol Hill, offered spectacular views of the cityscape and distant mountains on clear days. The job proved but rewarding, with colleagues who were brilliant and driven, yet something was missing. The city felt foreign. My apartment sterile. I found myself spending too many evenings staring at walls, wondering if I'd made a mistake in coming here. My doctor back in Chicago had always emphasized the importance of regular exercise for managing stress, so 3 weeks after arrival I joined a gym near my apartment. Elevation Fitness was housed in a renovated warehouse, with exposed brick walls, gleaming equipment, and floor-tasseling windows that somehow made even Seattle's frequent downpours seem atmospheric rather than depressing. On my first day, I completed the obligatory orientation with a trainer named Marcus, who showed me around the facility with practiced enthusiasm. "And here's our strength training area," he said, gesturing to a section filled with free weights and benches. "Best time to come is early morning or late evening if you want. It's crowded. Most of our regulars have their routines down and are happy to give pointers if you're new to lifting." I nodded, mentally calculating when I could fit gym sessions into my already packed schedule. "I'll probably be an evening person," I told him. "Work keeps me busy until at least 6 most days." Smiled. "Perfect, you'll fit right in with our after-work crowd. Lots of tech people, lawyers, the usual Seattle professionals unwinding after a day of sitting at desks." That evening, I returned to Elevation Fitness at 7:30 p.m., changed into workout clothes, and headed for the cardio machines. I planned to start with something familiar, 30 minutes on the treadmill, some basic weight machines, before gradually expanding my routine. As I stepped onto a treadmill, I scanned the gym, taking in the diverse crowd. Marcus had been right. The place was filled with people who looked like they'd come straight from offices similar to mine. My gaze settled on the free weights area, where a man was performing deadlifts with what appeared to be an impressive amount of weight. He moved with controlled power, his form perfect. From what I could tell, even from a distance, I could see the intense concentration on his face, the way his dark hair fell across his forehead as he completed each rep. There was something compelling about his focus, the way he seemed completely present in the physical effort. Unlike my own scattered attention that constantly drifted to work issues, apartment, logistics, and the general anxiety of being new in town, I forced my attention back to the treadmill controls. Setting a moderate pace for the next half hour, I jogged steadily, occasionally glancing around the gym, but trying not to fixate on anyone in particular. When I finished my cardio session, I moved to the weight machines, working through a basic circuit as Marcus had suggested. I was adjusting the seat on a chest press machine when a voice spoke from beside me. "You're setting it too high for your frame." I turned to find the deadlift guy standing nearby, a towel draped around his neck. Up close, he was even more striking, tall, with broad shoulders, olive skin, and eyes so dark they appeared almost black. His beard was neatly trimmed, defining a strong jawline. "Sorry," I managed suddenly. "That I'd been staring the seat," he clarified, gesturing to the machine. "Yeah, setting it too high, you won't get full range of motion like that without waiting for permission." He stepped forward and adjusted the seat, lowering it several notches. "Try it now." I sat down, positioned my hands on the grips, and pushed. The movement felt noticeably different, engaging muscles I hadn't properly worked before. "Better, right?" he asked, watching my form critically. "Yeah, actually," I admitted, completing a few more reps. "Thanks," he nodded. "I'm Gabriel, by the way, haven't seen you here before." "Isaac," I replied. "Just moved to Seattle a few weeks ago." Gabriel smiled, revealing a slight gap between his front teeth that somehow made his otherwise intimidating presence more approachable. "Welcome to the rain capital. What brought you here?" "Work," I said, continuing my reps. "I'm in software development." "Of course you are," he laughed. "This is Seattle after Allied. Have been more surprised if you said anything else." I found myself smiling in response. "Let me guess, you're the one person in this gym who doesn't work in tech, law, or medicine." "Got it in one head." Confirmed. I'm a high school physics teacher and wrestling coach. The anomaly of the evening Crothat explained the physique and the confident way he'd corrected my form. Well, thanks for the adjustment, I said, finishing my set. I appreciate the help. No problem, he replied. I'll be around if you need any more pointers. First few weeks at a new gym can be disorienting. With a casual wave, he moved back to the free weights area, leaving me to continue my workout alone over the next few weeks. I settled into a routine of visiting the gym for evenings a week. Gabriel was nearly always there, and we developed a casual gym acquaintance, shingink nods and occasional comments about equipment or form. I learned that he taught at a public high school, about a mile from the gym that he had been wrestling since middle school, and that he took his fitness regimen seriously but without the competitive edge I noticed in some of the other regulars. About a month into my gym membership, I was struggling with a barbell row when Gabriel appeared beside me again. You're rounding your back, he observed. Mind if I show you a better position? I straightened up, oddly pleased. Be his attention, please. I feel like I'm doing it wrong but can't figure out how to fix it. Gabriel moved behind me, placing one hand on my lower back and the other on my shoulder hinge at the hips, not the waist. He instructed, gently guiding my body into the correct position. Keep your spine neutral like this. His touch was pretentious Lindstruck, but I found myself acutely aware of his proximity. The warmth of his hands through my t-shirt followed his guidance, adjusting my stance and grip. That's it, he approved as I completed a rep with the corrected form. Much better. You'll feel it more in your lats and less in your lower back. No thanks, I said, continuing the exercise while maintaining the position he'd shown me. You're a good teacher, he grinned. I'd hope so given my day job. Hey, I'm about to wrap up, but if you're interested, I could give you some more structured pointers. I usually come in around this time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The offer surprised me. I don't want to impose on your workout time. Not an imposition, he assured me. I like helping people who are resolute about improving. Besides, it's nice talking to an adult after a day with teenagers. Their idea of stimulating convenience tends to revolve around TikTok trends and who's dating whom. I laughed. Fair enough. I'd appreciate their help. Actually great, Gabriel said. See you Thursday then. I nodded, already looking forward to it more than I probably should have been. Thursday it is, as promised. Gabriel began offering guidance during our shared gym sessions, gradually shifting from occasional pointers to what essentially became informal personal training. He helped me develop a more effective workout routine, corrected me form on various exercises, and pushed me to increase weights when he felt I was under his tutelage. I began seeing results: increased strength, improved posture, and a growing confidence in navigating the gym space that had initially felt so intimidating. But more than the physical benefits, I found myself enjoying Gabriel's company. Our conversations, sincerely limited to fitness topics, expanded to include our respective work challenges, favorite Seattle restaurants, and eventually more personal subjects. I learned that Gabriel had grown up in California, the son of Mexican immigrants who had emphasized education as the path to stability. He attended the University of Washington on a wrestling scholarship, in love with Seattle despite the weather, and stayed after graduation. What about you? He asked on evening, as we were both cooling down after a particularly intense leg day. Family still in Chicago. No immediate family, I replied. My parents are in Arizona, now retired to Scottsdale a few years ago. I'm an only child, doting Gagnon. The question was casual, but I noticed he didn't quite meet my eyes as he asked it. No, I said, stretching my quads. The move made that complicated, and honestly I've never been great at balancing work and relationships. Gabriel nodded. I get that. I've been single for about a year now. Last relationship ended when he took a job in Boston. Long distance wasn't something either of us wanted. Tottery, the casual mention of he registered, but I tried not to react visibly. I'd suspected Gabriel might be gay, but hadn't been certain. Not that it mattered for our gym friendship. I told myself long distance is tough. I agreed. I tried it once, in college, lasted about 3 months. We both admitted it wasn't working. Our conversation drifted to other topics, but something had shifted subtly. There was a new awareness between us, an acknowledgement of shared experience that hadn't been there before. 2 months into our informal training arrangement, Gabriel suggested we adjust her schedule. I'm coaching an evening wrestling camp for the next few weeks, he explained as we finished. The session morning workouts would be better for me. Any chance you could swing that? I considered my work schedule. My team had flexible hours as long as we attended the core meetings. I could do 6:30 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I offered. Would that work? Perfect. Gabriel smiled. Fair warning. I'm even more demanding before coffee. The morning sessions had a different energy. The gym was quieter with a smaller crowd of dedicated regulars. Gabriel and I fell into a comfortable rhythm, pushing each other through increasingly challenging workouts. I found myself looking forward to these early mornings, to the focusity we shared in the near-empty gym, to the satisfaction of completing a difficult session before most people had even started their day. After about 2 weeks of morning workouts, Gabriel suggested a change to our post-exercise routine. You ever use the steam room? He asked, as we finished our final set of shoulder presses. Not here, I admitted. Is it good? Fantastic for recovery, he confirmed. Really helps with muscle soreness. We should try it today. Pretty hard on those shoulders. The idea of sitting in a steam room with Gabriel created a flutter of anxiety. I didn't immediately understand there was nothing unusual about gym friends using the facilities together. After all, sure, I said, trying to sound casual. Why not? The locker room was nearly empty at that hour. I changed out of my sweat-soaked workout clothes, wrapped a towel around my waist, and followed Gabriel to the steam room. The small tiled chamber was already filled with dense vapor, hot enough that breathing required adjusting. Gabriel sat on the upper bench, leaning back against the wall with his eyes closed, another towel draped across his lap. I took a seat on the lower bench, trying not to stare at his bare chest, the defined muscles, nor relaxed in the heat. Good, right? He asked, without opening his eyes. Yeah, I agreed, letting the heat seep into my tired muscles. I can feel it already. We sat in comfortable silence for several minutes, only sound the occasional hiss of the steam generator. I closed my eyes, focusing on my breathing, on the pleasant ash in my shoulders and arms from the workout. So, Gabriel said eventually, you've been in Seattle for what, 3 months now? Starting to feel like home, I considered. The question, getting there work keeps me busy, which helps, and having a gym routine has been good thanks to you. Mainly, he waved this off. You'd have figured it out. Eventually, you're dedicated. That's the important part. Still, I insisted, I appreciate it now, just the fitness advice, but I hesitated, suddenly feeling vulnerable in the intimate space. It's been good having someone to talk to. Moving to a new city at our age isn't easy. Gabriel opened his eyes, meeting mine with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. No, it's not, he agreed quietly, making real connections get shorter the older we get. There was something in his gaze, a question or an invitation that I wasn't quite brave enough to acknowledge. I looked away, suddenly very aware of our partial nudity, the small space, the heat. That wasn't entirely due to the steam. I should probably head out, I said, standing early. Meeting today? Gabriel nodded, his expression unreadable. Sure, Thursday, as usual. Definitely, I confirmed, already back toward the door. See you then. Throughout the workday, my mind kept returning to that moment in the steam room. What had I seen in Gabriel's eyes? What had I wanted to see? And why had I tensely told me so much? I'd known I was bisexual since college, had dated both men and women, though my relationships with men had been fewer and usually more casual. It wasn't internalized homophobia causing my anxiety. I'd worked through most of that years ago, but something else, something more personal. The truth I realized as I sat through yet another product development meeting was that I feared ruining what had become an important friendship. Gabriel was, if I was honest with myself, the only real friend Edenade. Since moving to Seattle, the idea of complicating that with romantic or sexual tension worried me. By Thursday morning, I'd resolved to maintain clear boundaries. Our gym friendship was valuable, especially in my still newly fine Seattle. I wouldn't risk it for what might be a misread signal or a fleeting attraction. When I arrived at Elevation Fitness at 6:25 a.m., Gabriel was already there, warming up on one of the mats. He smiled when he saw me, that same warm grin with the endearing gap between his front teeth. Morning, he greeted. Ready to destroy your legs today? I groaned dramatically, as ready as anyone can before voluntary torture. The workout was challenging but exhilarating, as our sessions always were. Gabriel pushed me harder than I would have pushed myself, correcting my form when necessary, but also offering encouragement that made me want to live up to his expectations. By the end, my legs were trembling and sweat-soaked. Measured steam room, Gabriel suggested, as we finished stretching. Best thing for leg day recovery. I hesitated, remembering my resolution, but refusing would seem odd given that we'd established it as part of our routine. Sure, I agreed, hoping my voice sounded normal in the locker room. My changed quickly, keeping my eyes to myself, as Gabriel did the same. A few lockers away, the steam room was empty. When we entered, the heat enveloping us immediately, we took our usual positions, me on the lower bench, Gabriel above. You seem distracted today, Gabriel observed after a few minutes of silence. Everything okay? I opened my eyes, surprised by the perceptiveness. Just work stuff, I lied. We're launching a new feature next week, and there are still some bugs to work out. Gabriel studied me for a moment, and I had the uncomfortable feeling he could see right through the excuse. If you say so, he replied, letting it drop. We sat insolence for another minute before he spoke again. Can I ask you something personal? My stomach tightened with anticipation. Sure. When you mentioned dating before, he said, his tone deliberately casual. You didn't specify gender. I'm wondering if that was intentional. The directness of the question caught me off guard. Yes, I guess it was. I admitted I'm bisexual, but I don't always disclose that right away. Not because I'm ashamed, I added quickly, just because it can complicate conversations. Sometimes. Gabriel nodded. I understand. I've learned to be pretty upfront about being gay because it saves time in the long run. But everyone navigates it differently. He paused, then continued with a slight smile. Though I had a feeling about you. Feeling? Each owed heart rate increasing. The way you looked at me sometimes, he explained. I've been around long enough to recognize interest, even when someone's trying to hide it. Heat that had nothing to do with the steam room flooded my face. I wasn't, he began, then stopped, unwilling to lie. Okay, maybe I was looking, but I value our friendship and I didn't want to make things weird. Gabriel's smile widened. Isaac, I've been flirting with you for weeks. I was starting to think you were either completely oblivious or very politely rejecting me. This revelation stunned me. You've been flirting with me? I thought you were just being friendly. He laughed, the sound echoing in the small space. Yes, friendly, by offering free personal training and finding excuses to touch your shoulders, back, and basically anywhere else I could justify for form correction. Put that way, it seemed obvious. How had I missed it? I'm usually more perceptive than this, I said, embarrassed. Don't worry about it, Gabriel assured me. New city, new job, you've had a lot on your mind. He shifted, moving down to sit beside me on the lower bench. But no, that we're clear. I'd like to ask you properly, would you have dinner with me sometime? Not as gym buddies, but as a date. The proximity was intoxicating, his bare shoulder touching mine, the scent of his skin mixing with the steam. Yes, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded despite my racing heart. I'd like that. His smile transformed his face, crinkling the corners of his eyes. Good. Tomorrow night I know a great Peruvian place in Ballard. Tomorrow's perfect. I agreed. We sat there for a moment. Yick, the air charged with new possibility. Then with deliberate slowness, Gabriel reached out and placed his hand over mine, where it rested on the bench between us. His palm was hot from the steam, his too gentle but certain. I turned my hand over, allowing our fingers to intertwine, savoring the simple intimacy of thick contact. We should probably get going, he said, eventually, though he made no move to release my hand. Some of us have taught each first period physics to sleep-deprived teenagers. I laughed, reluctantizing. My grip wouldn't want you to be late. Those foot scientists need you. As we exited the steam room, the air of the locker room raised goosebumps on my skin. We dressed in companionable silence, the dynamic tween us transformed but somehow not awkward before we parted in the gym lobby. Gabriel touched my arm lightly. I'll text you about tomorrow, he said, looking forward to it. Me too, I replied, unable to suppress my smile. I floated through my workday, uncharacteristically distracted during meetings, checking my phone too frequently for Gabriel's promised text. When it finally came, a simple message with the restaurant name, address, and suggested time, I felt a surge of happiness that seemed disproportionate to the mundane details that evening. I spent an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear, finally settling on dark jeans and a blue button-down that a previous boyfriend had once said brought out my eyes. I arrived at the restaurant 5 minutes early, scanning the warm, inviting space for Gabriel. He walked in precisely in time, and the sight of him outside our usual gym context was momentarily disorienting. He wore charcoal grey pants and a forest green sweater that complemented his olive skin. His dark hair neatly styled rather than sweaty and disheveled, as I was accustomed to seeing it. He spotted me and smiled, that gap-toothed grin that had become increasingly endearing. Hey, he said, approaching Mittable, you look great. So do you, I replied, standing awkwardly, unsure whether to shake hands, hug, or do Nothing. Gabriel solved the dilemma by leaning in for a brief warm hug before we both sat down. The initial moments held a touch of vagueness, typical of first dates, but it quickly dissipated as we fell into the easy conversation we developed. Over months of workouts, the food was excellent. Gabriel ordered for us with the confidence of a regular dish that showcased the restaurant's specialties, and the Peruvian beer he recommended paired perfectly. So I said, as we shared a dessert of lucuma ice cream, "How long have you been planning to ask me out?" Gabriel considered the question, spoon hovering halfway to his mouth. "Honest license, about the third time." I corrected your form, something about the way you actually listened and implemented suggestions. "Most guys get defensive. That's what attracted you, me coachability." I teased. He laughed. "That, and the way you look in those grey shorts you wear sometimes." His eyes held mine across the table, a hint of heat in his gaze, but mostly it was how you me like a person, not just a body. "You asked me about my day, remembered things I'd mentioned weeks earlier, seemed genuinely interested in my thoughts." "That's rarer than you might think." The sincerity in his voice touched him. "I've enjoyed getting to know you," I said simply. "You made Seattle feel less lonely." Gabriel reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. "I'm glad. That's what I hoped." After dinner, we walked along the Ballard waterfront. The spring evening milled enough for just light jackets. Our conversation flowed naturally from topic to topic. Books we'd read recently, Plessway wanted to travel, childhood memories. When our hands bumped accidentally, Gabriel caught mine, interlacing our fingers. As we continued walking, the simple gesture felt both significant and completely natural. At the end of the evening, Gabriel drove me home. Pulling up in front of my apartment building, there was a moment of suspense as the car idled, both of us aware of the traditional end-off dat decision point. "I had a really good time," I said, turning in my seat to face him. "Me too," Gabriel replied. He hesitated, then added, "I'd like to see you again outside the gym." I'd like that too," I agreed, a pleasant warmth spreading through me. Gabriel studied my face for a moment, then leaned forward slowly, giving me time to pull away if I wanted instead. I met him halfway, our lips connecting in a kiss. Thought started gentle but quickly deepened. His hand came up to cut my jaw, his thumb stroking my cheek. As our mouths moved together, when we finally separated, I was slightly breathless. "Good night, Isaac," Gabriel murmured, his face still close to mine. "Good night," I replied reluctantly, reaching for the door handle. "See you Tuesday morning." His smile held, and you wouldn't miss it. The following weeks brought a gradual blending of our gym relationship and our romantic one. We maintained our Tuesday and Thursday morning workouts, but now they concluded with a quick kiss in the parking lot before we headed to our respective jobs. We added weekend dates, hiking in the nearby mountains, exploring Seattle neighborhoods, cooking dinner at his cozy Fremont apartment or my sleeker Capitol Hill. Our physical relationship developed at a measured pace that felt both respectful and exquisite. After our third date, an afternoon at the Seattle Art Museum, followed by drinks at a rooftop bar, Gabriel invited me back to his place. What began as a simple good night kiss at his door evolved into something more heated, his body pressing mine against the wall, my hands exploring the muscled contours I'd admired for months. "Stay," he whispered against my neck. "Can't." I nodded. Beyond words, that night marked a new level of intimacy between us, our bodies communicating what we were still learning to express in words. Gabriel was both tender and passionate, attentive to my responses in the same way he'd been attentive to my form in the gym, reading signals, adjusting, finding what worked best for both of us. Afterward, lying in his bed with his arm draped across my chest, I felt a contentment that had been absent from my life for longer than I cared to admit. As spring turned to summer, our relationship deepened. I met some of Gabriel's colleagues at an end-of-school year party where he introduced them as his boyfriend with a casual confidence that made my heart swell. He attended my company's 4th of July picnic, charming my coworkers and making easy conversation with my boss about the physics behind fireworks displays. "Your boyfriend is delightful," my team lead, Alicia, told me as we watched Gabriel explaining something to a group of captivated engineers, his hands gesturing animatedly. "So different from most of the tech partners we meet at these things. Where did you find him?" "At the gym, actually," I replied, unable to keep the smile from my face. "He helped me correct my form on barbell rows." "Is that what they're calling it these days?" she teased, and I laughed, appreciating how comfortable I felt discussing my Openly, summer in Seattle proved to be as glorious as the locale should promised, with long sunny days and mild temperatures that encouraged outdoor exploration. Gabriel, having lived in the city for years, became my guide to hidden beaches less traveled. Hiking trails and neighborhood festivals that didn't make the tourist maps. We fell into a rhythm of spending most nights together, alternating between our apartments, depending on schedules and proximity to plans. One August morning, waking up in bed to the sound of him showering, I had a moment of clarity. The sense of dislocation and sterility that had characterized my first months in Seattle had completely vanished. In its place was a feeling of rootedness, of belonging, that I realized was largely due to the man currently singing slightly off-key in the bathroom. The revelation was both comforting and terrifying. I had never allowed anyone to become so essential to my happiness before. When Gabriel emerged from the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist and water droplets clinging to his shoulders, he caught me staring what he'st, running a hand through his damp hairdo. "I have something on my face. I love you," I said, the words escaping bare I could consider them. I immediately tensed, surprised by my own declaration and uncertain of his response. Gabriel froze for a moment, then a slow smile spread across his face. He crossed to the bed and sat beside me, taking my hand in his eye. "Love you too," he replied, his voice warm and certain. For a while now, real belief and joy washed through me. Yeah, he confirmed, leaning down to kiss me softly. "Since about the first time you beat me at chess and didn't try to hide how pleased you were with yourself." I laughed, remembering the evening about a month into our relationship when I'd finally won a game after multiple losses. "I was insufferable about that." "You were adorable," he corrected, kissing me again, and I knew I was in trouble. The remainder of the summer passed in a haze of contentment. We established traditions: Sunday morning coffee at a local bakery, weekly chess matches that I occasionally won, dinner with his close friends, Sophia and Miguel, every other Friday. My apartment began accumulating evidence of Gabriel's presence: a toothbrush in the bathroom, running shoes by the door, physics journals on the coffee table. Similarly, his place gradually accommodated my existent space, cleared in a dresser drawer, my preferred brand of tea in the kitchen, a phone charger permanently installed on what had become my side of the bed. In September, as Gabriel returned to school and my company entered a busy development phase for a major release, we found ourselves with less free time. Our gym sessions remained constant. However, a sacred space where we connected regardless of other demands, the steam room, where our relationship had first shifted beyond friendship, became a place of conversation and occasional stallencases when we had privacy. One Tuesday morning in late September, as we sat in the steam room after a particularly grueling workout, Gabriel seemed preoccupied, responding to my comments about work with distracted nods. "Everything okay?" I finally asked. "You seem a million miles away." He looked at me, his expression serious. "My leash is up in November." "Oh," I said, unsure why this warranted such sality. "Are you planning to renew or looking for a new place?" "I was thinking," he began, then paused, taking a deep breath. "We spend most nights together anyway. It seems inefficient to pay for 2 apartments." My heart rate accelerated as I processed his meaning. Are you suggesting we move in together?" Gabriel nodded, watching my face carefully. "I am, but only if you think it's not too soon. We've been dating for 5 months now." "I know that's relatively quick for Sucha. Big step in truth." I had been considering the same possibility, but hadn't found the courage to bring it up. Prospect both excited and intimidated me. I'd never lived with a partner before. "Where would we live?" I asked, buying time to organize my thoughts. "Your place or mine?" "I was thinking maybe neither," he replied. "We could find a place that's ours from the beginning. Something centrally located between your office and my school, with enough space for both of us to have some privacy when needed." The thoughtfulness of the suggestion touched me. Gabriel understood my need for occasional solitude, just as he respected his desire for space to grade papers and prepare lessons without distraction. "I'd like that," I said, finalis milling at the relief that washed over his face. "I'd like that a lot, actually." Gabriel reached for my hand, squeezing it tightly. "Yeah, you're sure?" I nodded, suddenly certain. "Yes, let's find our place." The process of apartment hunting proved both stressful and exciting. We had different priorities. Gabriel valued proximity to outdoor spaces and good natural light for his many houseplants, while I focused on building security and reliable internet infrastructure. But we found common ground in our desire for a spacious kitchen. He loved to cook, and I loved to eat. His cooking a separate office area for my occasional work. from home days and a guest room for visits from his parents or my friends from Chicago. After viewing countless properties, we finally found a two-bed apartment in the Wallingford neighborhood, walking distance from Green Lake Park, and with easy bus connections to both our workplaces. The building was older but well-maintained, with character details like crown molding and a brick fireplace that Gabriel immediately loved. It wore slightly over our initial budget, but the layout was perfect and open. Kitchen and living area for shared time, and enough separate spaces to maintain independence when needed. Moving day arrived in early November, a typically drizzly Seattle autumn day that had us grateful for the covered parking at both our old buildings. Gabriel's friends Miguel and Sofia helped along with a couple of my colleagues who had become friends over the months. By evening most of our boxes were at least in the correct rooms, if not unpacked, and we'd assembled the bed frame and located enough kitchen items to make coffee and toast for Themining after our friends departed. Gabriel and I stood in the middle of our new living room, surrounded by boxes and mismatched furniture, both slightly overwhelmed by the task ahead, but excited by the "Welcome home," Gabriel said, wrapping his arms around me from behind and resting his chin on my shoulder. I leaned back against him, feeling his solid warmth. Home. I repeated the word, resonating with new meaning. I liked the sound of that. We ordered pizza, found the box containing wine glasses, and picked on the floor, planning where furniture should go and which projects to tackle first. When exhaustion finally caught up with us, we navigated through the maze of boxes to our new bedroom, where only and a single lamp had been set up. "Sorry it's not more romantic for our first night," Gabriel said as we collapsed onto the mattress, too tired to do more than change into sleep clothes. I had visions of candles and properly made beds with all the pillows. I laughed, curling into his side. "This is perfect. We're here together. That's what matters." He kissed the top of my head, his arms secure around me. "You're right, and we have all the time in the world to make it exactly how we want it." As I sleep surrounded by unpacked possessions and the unfamiliar sounds of a new building, I reflected on the unlikely journey that had brought me here 6 months ago. I had been a solitary newcomer in an unfamiliar city, seeking nothing more than basic fitness and perhaps a distraction from my isolation. Now I was falling asleep in the arms of the man I loved in the home we would build together, all because I'd set a weight machine incorrectly and a kind stranger had stopped to help me adjust my form. My name is Isaac, and what began as a chance encounter in a gym steam room has become the foundation of the life I never knew. I wanted a life of shared mornings and evenings, of mutual support and growth, of love, expressed in both grand gestures and small daily kindnesses. Gabriel and I still work out together for mornings a week, still push each other to grow stronger, still occasionally retreat to the steam room for quiet conversation. But now the journey continues beyond the gym doors, into the home and the future we're creating together, one day at a time.